start. I'm going to press record and I'm going to welcome everyone to our Tuesday night call. This is our flagship product. This is the very coolest of programs where you are going to get some amazing healing, some amazing information. Tonight we are talking about the Clairaudient channels, and everybody wants to be able to hear their soul, wants to be able to hear their healing team, and that's what we are going to be doing for you. This is the 5th episode, so if you haven't heard the other 4, you want to go to either YouTube or to SoundCloud to be able to hear them. I love when people go, I just finished this one and it was so amazing. We absolutely gift this to everyone because we know the value of how amazing this is. It is an incredible opportunity to get information, to get healing for free. We're so excited about this. Lily and I co-founded the 8th Chakra Company with the express purpose of us helping to master what it is to be human. Because we understand, we know how to be spiritual. We got that part down, but we're not exactly sure how to do this whole thing in a body. And so we love to talk about that and bring in new awareness. You know, both Lily and I are Master Akashic Record readers. We are mastery level alchemists, level 2 alchemists. We do energetic architecture. There are not many people on the planet who do that. And we bring all of that information in to this single hour program. Once again, that is free. So we are very excited to do that. And as a little aside, you know, every once in a while people are saying like, you know, I just love your stuff. Can I have a session with you? Can I get a session with Lily? And I'm like, absolutely, yes. So I just wanted to throw that in as well.
Fabulous, yes. So again, this is our 5th episode, and there's so much stuff out there that you could be hopping onto calls and teleseminars and all kinds of things out there. But what really makes us unique is that Bonnie and I are very intimately connected with the angelic realm and also with the Akashic realm. So we bring that wisdom with us. And when I say intimately connected, you just have no idea how intimately connected we are with the angelic realm. It's like we talk with them every single day. So we're here to bring that forward for you and raise your frequency. We always say your frequency gets raised just by showing up, whether you're on the call live or if you're listening to the recording, your frequency is going to go up. And the great thing about frequency going up is that once it goes up, it never comes down. And so we're always wanting to raise our frequency because as a humanity, we are definitely here on an ascension process to go up, up, up in our frequency every single day. And then we open the Akashic Records for this community. That means you, whether you're listening to the call or not, right before the call. So the messages that we're going to be receiving are going to be very customized and designed for those of us that are here. The community, we call it the TNC, February 26th community. Today we're going to be talking about the Clairaudient channels. And so if you're on this call, it is not a coincidence. It's because your soul is driving you to be here so you can learn more about your Clairaudient channels and how to activate them and how to use them to gather more information about the multiverse. So that's exciting. And then we also, of course, set an intention, and our intention is for you to remember who you are, to step into your truth, and to gather more information about the Clairaudient channels. We all want to know more how to use all our channels, and that's what this series is all about. And we invite you to create your own intention. If you'd like to receive a healing for your channels, or if you'd like to understand the channels or the light bodies more in a way that will help you to maybe meet a challenge that's going on in your life. Maybe you are having a problem in a relationship, or maybe you're having a health issue. Well, you could set an intention tonight to be able to use your Clairaudience with the information that we're bringing in and the downloads that we're going to be doing. You could set an intention to use that information and those downloads and healing to bring wisdom and healing for that area in your life. So go ahead and set an intention for yourself for this call, because that'll make it really powerful for you.
I absolutely love that you challenged them to make their own intention. That was fabulous. I'm just busy untangling my cord. Sorry. That is absolutely awesome. set your own intention and know that we are busy holding the intention for you as well. So here's how it works for those of you who may not have been on before. The very first half of the call is where we're going to discuss the conversation about clairaudient channels. We're going to give you the information that we have, and we are happy to answer any questions. If you want to just put it in the chat, you are welcome to do that. Both of us are kind of paying attention to what is happening in the chat, so we can certainly answer it from there. But if you would like to raise your hand, you can actually go up to the go down to the bottom to the chat function and actually click on that. Excuse me. What the hell am I talking about? Let's have a conversation. You actually go up to your participant list and click on that and raise your hand so that we know you want to have a conversation with us. We're happy to unmute you and have a conversation with you about whatever your question is. Either way, we really encourage you to participate in the conversation. The second half of the call is where we are each getting information from our own information, from our souls, from the Akashic realm, from the angelic realm, and we want to share that with you. And all of that information is influenced, let's just say, by the conversation that we have here. So it always helps if you have a question for you to ask it. Feel free to ask it. We don't care how that happens. Lily and I talk often enough to each other. We really want to hear what you have to say. So please, please, please pop in one way or another and have a conversation with us. Did I cover it all, Lily?
Pretty much. And if you do raise your hand and we unmute you, or we have you unmute yourself, then everybody will hear your voice, but you're not going to have, the video won't be on, so you don't have to worry about how you look or anything, and your voice will be beautiful. But you can also chat it to us, and like Bonnie was saying, one of us will catch it and we'll answer the question. And when we do have the segment of the second half of the call, those questions will all be answered. So that's really exciting. Okay, so let's get going. Let's roll this thing. Come on. So clairaudient channels. What the heck is a clairaudient channel, Bonnie? Can you tell everybody what a clairaudient channel is?
Absolutely. Do you know what I love about this is that clairaudient channels fall into the category of kind of what I call the divine channels of communication, which includes clairsentience and clairvoyance and claircognizance, which we're going to be talking about coming up, and earth and cosmic channels. There's a ton of channels. And I really love that no matter who you look at on the planet, whether you're looking at somebody who has no awareness of what clairaudience means, or somebody who desperately wants to have access to being able to hear their soul and their healing team. It doesn't matter who you're looking at. Every single person on the planet has clairaudient channels. And the way they show up to me is like a grid system. They kind of show up to me like the closet, those wire plastic coated closet things, and they show up to me as green, and they literally go from the bottom of your feet all the way up to your highest chakra. And those are your clairaudient channels. And it's really important for us to understand that they are an entire body system. They don't have anything to do with our hearing, although we tend to think of audient as having completely to do with our ears. We can actually hear with the bottoms of our feet because we have clairaudient channels down there. And what we're going to be talking about tonight, and actually healing as well, is the clairaudient channels, because there's so many low frequencies that get into those clairaudient channels and keep us from accessing our information. So that's the general gist of what clairaudient channels look like energetically.
Yes, and you know, in the universe, there's a lot of material, let's say, of what the multiverse is made of, and one of those things that the multiverse is made of is sound. There's sound everywhere, and that's actually what it connects with those channels, and then we detect that sound through our clair channels, and that is how we hear it. It doesn't mean that we're hearing it like you're hearing my voice right now, but we're hearing it because the information is coming through for you in a way that you can translate it into something that is being spoken, or a sound. It could be the ringing of a bell. Sometimes when I'm walking sunrise in the morning, I will hear sounds like bells or whistles, and I have to like look around, where did that come from? And then I have to remind myself that, well, it's my clairaudience channels are trying to bring my attention to something. A couple of days ago, I was walking along, and I was innocently doing all kinds of little healing and remotes, because it's when I do my remote healing. And all of a sudden, this gigantic wave that I wasn't expecting came, and even though the wave like almost, I mean, it literally came almost up to my knees, what was more prevalent about the wave was not the wet ocean on me. It was the sound that the wave made on me. And so, but it was just so significant that you think, well, you're at the beach, you're going to get waves. But this wave was so major that it literally stopped me in my tracks. And then I had to pay attention, because I knew that there was a master that was trying to get my attention. And so I had to stop. I'm like, okay, what do I need to know? So that's one way that our clairaudience channel can talk to us, is through the sounds that we hear in nature. And sometimes they're real sounds and sometimes they're not. I mean, just because we are hearing them through our ears also are gathering information through sound, just like all our senses. We gather information through the sense of smell. We gather information through our eyes. We gather information through our skin. And so it's the same thing with the channels. It's just that our divine channels are gathering information that exists and is present beyond what our physical senses can experience. And that's the beauty of it, that when we wake up those channels, oh my gosh, our ability to gather information from the universe or the multiverse, it's just augmented 100, 1,000, a gazillion times over, because that is how magnificent it is to be able to receive that information when we're not limited just by the 5 senses that most of us are completely aware of. So it's very, very
Right.
cool.
That's a really good point, that when as you clear your clairaudient channels, you will discover certain things are heightened for your soul to get your attention. And that's really important. I was telling Lily that I've had a couple of mornings where I literally have been jolted out of bed because I hear the cat meowing. Now, this morning it was like a normal cat meow, like I'm hungry, get up. And it happened to be 5 o'clock in the morning, which, is a whole nother story. But I have had, probably about 2 weeks ago, I had it like a distress meow that, I just popped out of bed and I was like, what in the world am I doing? And what in the world did I hear? And when I actually got up, I found that the cat both times wasn't even in the house. So, I immediately asked, like, why am I hearing a cat? Is there something to be worried about? And it's like, oh no, we just needed you to get up. And that was what was going to get you up. So, there are a lot of ways that you will discover that your healing team or your soul will use your clairaudient channels to get you to pay attention. And I love that example that the wave just suddenly seems so much louder than normal that you're like, oh, wait, somebody is saying something to me, let me pay attention. It's a great message for us to have, that when you hear something out of the ordinary or kind of amplified, we want to pay attention to it, because that's definitely he's trying to get attention.
All right, so come on, it's you guys' turn. We could go on and talk about this for the next hour by ourselves, but come on, let's have some questions. You can chat them or you can raise your hand and we'll open it up. You must be very curious about, well, how can we activate our channels and how do we know? A great question would be, like, how do we know the difference between a real sound and a sound that's coming from our clairaudient channel? That's like a really cool question. So would just love to answer those questions, or have them be, because Bonnie and I really don't know a whole lot. We show up here, we just trust that we're bringing in our information from our upper chakras, and Bonnie and I both have a 12th chakra. Not everybody has a 12th chakra, but we do. And we gather information from that 12th chakra, which really connects us with the angelic realm and with a lot of wisdom. And but our personalities half the time don't know what the heck we're going to say on this call. Our personalities, we have to kind of put them on the side and let our souls take over and channel all the information that we're sharing with you. So we know, that's why I know that you all have some questions.
So Eileen, do you have a question there? Is that a question that you're asking? Lily, took the words right out of your mouth. I'm really curious about that. I love that.
Let's unmute Eileen. She's a brave soul.
There you All right, Eileen. Not like you're on she's like, go ahead.
I am a brave soul.
You've been doing this with us a long time. Go ahead.
I'm not afraid of anything anymore. Lily was talking about how can we tell the difference? How do we know that it is our Clairaudient channel speaking or just some random thing going through my head, which happens a lot? How do we know? I mean, I can kind of tell most of the time because my soul doesn't use the same phrasing that I would use. So I thought, oh, yep, that's him. I got to pay attention now. Otherwise, I just have random thoughts going through my head and they come through with sound.
That's pretty cool. So you're saying that your soul actually sounds different from you?
Yes. It sounds like me, but the wording is different. It's the same way when I open my Akashic records. I always know when I'm in there because they will use words that, not that I don't know what they mean, but would not occur to me to use those in my everyday conversation. Mm-hmm. And my soul, I think he just does that to get my attention, to make sure. Sometimes he throws me on the garage floor. Sometimes he talks to me. Just depends on the day.
Yeah. Well, I think you've answered your own question, Eileen. And
I think so too. Yeah, thank you.
Eileen, I love what you added there because you also added the subtle little he, and Eileen's soul is a male, and it is. We're going to talk about this more on Friday, but it is really important. She didn't make a mistake. She didn't mean she. Eileen's soul is male as well as my soul is male. And it is really, really cool to discover that you are not necessarily how you show up in this incarnation. But Eileen, to me, it is absolutely true. It sounds different when I'm listening to my soul. And my soul is actually really persistent. Like, if I'm not paying attention, it's kind of like wrapping me upside the head. Like, excuse me, did you hear me? Information.
Do I need to do something else to get your attention? No, thank you. I'm good.
Absolutely. And Lily, you and I were talking about this too when we were talking about when you're listening to your soul is never going to say something to you like, why don't you just die? Or you're the biggest fool in the world. Why do you not hear? Your soul never will speak to you in that way. And if you hear any messages coming in your Clairaudient channels that show up like that, you know that they are not the truth of you. That's not coming from your soul, right? Lily?
Yeah, so I think sometimes we can't tell the difference. And I think that's okay. Because there are times when I'll hear a voice and I have to sometimes think, oh my God, was that my real ears hearing that voice, or was that my Claire channel trying to tell me something? And sometimes it doesn't really matter because I don't always distinguish, because sometimes I do hear it like it's coming through my ears. But if I look around and there's nobody there, then I have to assume that, it wasn't a real voice, but so then I have to assume that it's my Clairaudient channel talking to me. But then I have to now ask, is that really my soul trying to grab my attention, or am I getting a message from one of the masters that I work with, or one of the angelic realm that I work with? Because if what I'm hearing doesn't feel good, or if it feels a little bit off, if it's not coming from pure love and from clarity, and if it doesn't fill my heart and move me, then I know that it's not coming from that. And this is just a great segue into how low frequencies can actually and inhabit our channels and therefore cloud us or interfere with the messages that we're receiving. So it's really important to be able to distinguish what is the message that is coming. Is it coming from our soul or from one of the angelic realm that we work with or that we are in guidance of? Or is it coming from a low frequency that's just kind of intruding upon us? Because that does happen. And I'm getting a private questions that asking, do you have to have a, do you have to be of a certain frequency in order to be clairaudient? I would imagine, yes, you would have to be a certain frequency in order to have your clairaudience be activated and for it to be working for you and functioning for you. We all have a lot of tools and a lot of gifts that we come here with, but they get activated as our frequency goes up. And as we clear karma and agreements in our life, then those gifts, like the clair channels, get activated according to frequency. Really, everything is according to frequency. So even me being here having this conversation, Bonnie being here having this conversation, and you being here having this conversation says that we have something in common about our frequency. Someone that is not vibrating in the frequency that this call is vibrating in wouldn't be here because it would not be an alignment. So yes, everything is frequency, and you would have to be a particular frequency in order to receive the activation of that channel or any of the channels.
Yeah, and you know what? I would also add that it is something that is completely dictated by your soul, right? Your soul is in charge of everything. Your soul is in charge of when you're going to be able to hear, when you're going to be able to see. We talked about this last week when we were talking about your clairvoyant channels. You know, my soul said, we're not giving you a lot of clairvoyance until you really become strong with your knowing. You really become, you've moved out enough of the judgments, the frequencies, the low frequencies that are going to keep you in fear, that when you see something that you're going to immediately go, oh my God, what in the world was that? So it was a soul decision for me. The clairaudient channels, it was not my strong suit. I do know some people who clairaudience is a big thing for them, and that is completely dictated by our souls. So, you know, waking up our clairaudient channels, that idea of waking them up, here's where we get to transition into the idea that everything has to do with these low frequencies that Lily is talking about. When we mention low frequencies, we're talking about fear, pain, anger, you know, shame, blame. We did an entire series last time on these low frequencies, things that get in the way of us accessing more of our own information. And so as we move out, like let's say maybe you have some fear about being able to hear. You might have had a lifetime where you heard that you were supposed to say something or do something and you did that and it ended up in your death. That would be a very good reason why you're like, oh no, I'm not saying anything in this lifetime. I'm not listening to those beings. And so your soul might be like, you know what, we're going to work on this. We're going to move more of these low frequencies. And when you have the sense of self-worth and a sense of clarity, then we're going to turn on your clairaudient channels and you're going to be like, ta-da, I can hear.
Well,
it is always dictated by that.
And one of the things that you mentioned, Bonnie, which I just have to say is fear is one of the low frequencies that really stops us. The fear that we feel that we're going to be judged. Like if you told somebody you hear voices, they're going to want to lock you up. And that actually happens. People get locked up into mental crazy homes because they hear voices. Insane. Well, what if there's just their clairvoyant? What if just their clairaudient channels are really active, and now that person is being drugged and given electric shock treatment to quiet those voices? So we have all this fear in our society about all our channels. You know, I mean, we've all heard the stories of the burning of the witches and all of that stuff. You know, it's like to have gifts, to have these beautiful channels activated is a fearful thing, because many of us have been hung or burned at the stake because we have these gifts. And so it's very important to be able to clear all of that. Wow. So now I'm seeing this huge door. Bonnie, you were seeing a door opening before the call. Now I'm seeing a huge door for this community Like I'm seeing the doors. They're showing me thousands of them. I'm literally seeing thousands of them right now. I'm getting goosebumps everywhere. They're showing me all these like memory doors that everybody on this call has, whether you're listening to this call live or you're listening to the recording. They're showing me the doors that we all have, those memory doors that are actually memories of when we have had some kind of repercussion that has not ended well for us because one of our Claire channels was very active, or many of them. And so we're going to go ahead and clear that. And wow, so there is like a massive door shutting going on right now. I've never witnessed this before, Bonnie. It's like a massive door closing for each and every single person here. You're having each of you at least 2 doors, 2 memory doors closed. Wow. It's just the energy coming through is really, it's wild. Memory doors can be very, very powerful because they literally will stop you because the memory is so vivid and real. You don't experience it consciously, but you're experiencing it subconsciously, and the memory will literally keep you from repeating that experience. And that's what they're showing me is a slew of memory doors that have been unpleasant experiences that we have had, where we have died or we have suffered or been tortured for being able to utilize our Clairaudient channels. They're only showing me memory doors that are associated with the Clairaudient channels, and so they're being closed right now. I'm seeing like the entire angelic realm here, like just busy closing doors everywhere. And now I'm seeing a lot of gold coming through to seal those doors, and a lot of crystals coming through, you know, just for the healing of those memories. And then some of those memories are getting archived. I'm just like, I'm watching them like little scrolls. Some of them are being archived in the Akashic records for each of you. This is happening for each of you individually, but it's also happening for us as a collective, because the collective being meaning humanity, but the collective can also be everyone that's on this call. We also have memory doors. And so right now I'm seeing some collective memory doors for the collective, meaning the human collective, that has to do with Clairaudient's channels. Well, this didn't happen on the other call, so it's shocking me a little bit, but it's really cool because once we close those doors, we can start to experience more freedom and more lightness around it, and it becomes like, oh, I'm feeling like this feeling of like, well, of course I am clairaudient. Of course I'm clairaudient. Wow, it's like this feeling of just being on a wave and closing your eyes. And can you imagine if you were born without the sense of eyesight, but you had your ears would be really, really sharp, right? So imagine just closing your eyes and allowing the wave of this beautiful gift of closing these doors so that we can experience freedom around allowing our clairaudience to really activate and to be here for us as it's meant to be. Because we're all here for that reason, that we're at that frequency, that we're ready to experience clairaudience. Wow. I'm hearing those bells that you were hearing before, buddy. La da da la da da is what it sounds like.
Yeah, and for those of you, I know there's some of you who get on these calls, and fortunately I get to see you in person. And when I chat with you in person, you do that like, I'm not sure if I can hear, and I'm not sure if I got this whole idea. And I do want to share the quick story with you that I had where I was having a conversation with my teacher about being clairaudient. And I said, I'm not really sure that I'm really that clairaudient. Like, I just have a knowing about songs. There are certain songs. I listen to a lot of Jason Mraz and a lot of Dave Koz, who's a jazz artist. And I listen to it in the morning when I'm walking and I'm busy creating designs and doing healing. And so what I said I know is that I start to hear those songs playing, and I know that there is healing going on, or that I'm supposed to be doing healing work with that. And she just looked at me and was like, yeah, that's called your clairaudience. The minute you have a knowing about hearing a song, that is your clairaudience. So if I were to sit there and tell you to hear Mary Had a Little Lamb, you would call in your clairaudience and you would be able to play it, or to be able to hear it in your channels. And so that's really what we're talking about. All of us have the ability, all of us do it all the time. When you hear your mother, no matter what age you are, when you hear your mother call your name, my mom used to say, Bonnie Lynn, and I'm like, oh, dang, I'm in trouble. That is your clairaudient channel. So just in case you were thinking, oh, this doesn't apply to me, I can't hear, I just reminded you that you can at least hear a little bit.
That's a great example too, because I also hear songs and music, and I never really stopped to think, oh, that's my clairaudient channel, but it definitely is, definitely. So I'm glad, Eileen, that you were able to see a memory from your childhood. That's really great. And yeah, when we're children, I mean, sometimes we come into this life and our gifts are very open, and our clairaudience is very open, and we start telling our parents about our little imaginary friends. Eileen is sharing about that, and that you're having conversations with these little imaginary friends, and then they start telling you, that's not real, don't do that, don't say that, that's not real. So we start shutting down, So yes, all of that is getting cleared. Awesome, beautiful. And Gretchen says she also feels a memory from a past life, and again, it can happen from past lifetimes, and it can happen in the current lifetime. So that's really cool. Wow.
Another one of those past lives that show up, in addition to being burned and tortured and things like that, you sort of hinted at it, was most of us on this call have done a stint in the insane asylum, that we were there because we heard something, we saw something, we insisted upon it, and we did some version of being in an insane asylum. Most of us actually spent a long period of time there and actually ended up dying in the insane asylum. But some of us actually were there for a shorter period of time and actually left. But that's another picture that you could have about why it's not safe to hear. And more of that stuff is being moved out for you, because it's normal to be able to hear your soul and to be able to hear your healing team. That's absolutely normal.
And that's a great example too, Bonnie, because, and we're going to probably most likely be talking about that on Friday, because our soul makes a lot of choices and a lot of decisions to come into certain circumstances. And, you know, we could ask ourselves, why would our soul choose to have the experience of being in a mental asylum? Well, why would our soul choose to be in a wheelchair? So all these things are really important for us to understand from the soul perspective, so that we can be in peace with it and not be in fear of it, or not be in pain of it, and not be in the struggle of it. So very, very cool.
Yes, absolutely. And we're actually coming around to that part where we're going to be giving you some messages and some information. So if you have any questions, it feels like there's at least one person that's sitting on a question like, oh, that's a question I don't want to ask. That's too ridiculous. It's never too ridiculous. Lily and I have asked and answered some of the strangest questions, but they actually turn out to be the most amazing things. And we get off these calls and we're like, oh my God, can you believe we got that information? So if you're
sometimes we're the ones that are asking the strangest questions.
That is for sure. That's for sure. And this information that the specific question I'm being told to ask is, what kinds of questions can you hear, and what kind of questions would you like to be able to hear? So if you have something like that, throw that on. I see Echo. She gets it when she gets a healing, her ears start to pop and ring. Is that related?
Yes, it is related, because when you're getting a healing, you're having beings and low frequencies being moved out of you, and that's what that popping and ringing is. It's actually the alchemizing of low frequencies. So that is very related, and it's very cool that you're experiencing that, because it's an absolute evidence that the healing is working.
Yeah, absolutely. And I love that Terry and Ashley both asked sort of similar questions. How you open or clear your channels is you attend things like this, because one of the things that Lily and I do on a regular basis is we clear the karma and agreements between you and all of those low frequencies. We reassign the beings that we see that are there. We reassign them to the astral plane, and then you have more access to your information. Once we move the beings out, we then load you with light and put in more crystal activations. Those are all the kinds of things that are happening while we are literally talking. That is happening. So
and right now that's actually happening. We're all getting a download, a huge download of light. And this is very important for our channels because in order to move those low frequencies and some of those beings, and I think that's your question, both of you, Ashley and Terry, thank you for bringing that question up because it's exactly what's happening right now. You kind of instigated a little massive cleanup here of low frequency and beings for everyone on the call. So thank you for bringing that up. And as a result, we're also getting a huge influx of light. And sometimes light will stir up low frequencies. And that's why when we are getting healing, sometimes we can feel a little nausea or we can feel a little bit weird, but it passes quickly because those low frequencies are being moved out of wherever they're buried in your light bodies. And low frequencies and beings can be located anywhere in your entire energetic field, including the space between your physical body and the Merkaba. So it's important to be able to clear all that out so that the light can come through, because the light is what carries the wisdom and the information and the love. We are so hungry for love, all of us. We really are. And we want to move all these low frequencies so we can feel the love. We want to feel it. We want to know it. We want to see it. We want to hear it. We want to experience love everywhere because love is the only truth. It is what heals. It is what creates. It is what builds us up. It is what causes us to be the beings of light that we came here to be. So love moves a lot faster without the beings and without the low frequencies. That's all I got to say about that.
it absolutely does. And I love that I have some questions because it's tying right into the information that I am hearing. I'm supposed to give you some really specific information here for you all to have this awareness that as we talked about, there are our channels and there are low frequencies, and it's really important for us to understand that those low frequencies are can be the voices that we hear, as like Ashley, what you're talking about. They can be the voices that we hear in our channels. And one of the things that differentiates Lily and I from other people on the planet right now, it's really important to have that clarity that it is only something that is a short period of time, because more and more people are getting this information or learning to master their information. It is what we can do is actually clear the karma and agreements and reassign the beings. And what that literally means is that we're basically telling them that their time is up in your Clairaudient channels or anywhere else they happen to be. Their time is up. It's time for them to go. You no longer need to have them in your body, in your physical body, or in one of your energetic bodies. And so what we do is we reassign them, and then suddenly you have access to more of your own information. When you reassign a low frequency that's busy talking to you, you have the opportunity to access more of that. And the example they're telling me to give you, and I love this example, is that all of us have at least one friend that when they drink too much, they get a being that shows up in their bodies and turns into angry version or sad version or some other kind of version of the person. So I am not one of those people. If I were to drink too much, I could have a being show up that would be Angry Bonnie. And when Angry Bonnie shows up, I would be telling everybody off in the bar. I would be telling everybody off what is going on. Is that me? Absolutely not. It has nothing to do with me. It has to do with a being that has gotten into my Clairaudient channels and I'm listening to. And that being is telling me, you need to tell off that person. You need to explain to that person why you really don't like them. Whatever it is that I happen to be hearing. That is not the truth of me. That is a low frequency. That is a being that needs to be reassigned and moved out of the way. And so once that being is moved out of the way, suddenly Angry Bonnie no longer exists. And it's really important for us to understand more of this, partly because we all have that friend who shows up that way, and then we get really pissed off at them and we think that's the truth of them or that's how they are. And it's really important for us to understand that that's not the truth of them, that that's just a low frequency that has gotten into their clairaudient channels. Sometimes it actually gets into their throat or something else as well. But it is not the truth of us. And it is also not the truth of us if you happen to have a being that gets into your clairaudient channels and starts talking trash about you, or starts making you think that you are not a beautiful being of light. And it's really important for us to have that awareness as well. All of us are divinely perfect exactly as we sit. However we show up, whether we are angry at one time or whether we're absolutely loving, it is divinely perfect exactly as it is. We are all always following our soul's direction until those beings get in the way. We want to remember that that is how it happens. And I see, Corey, you asked the question about how you use your stronger channels to strengthen the weaker channels. Once again, that is beautifully handled by our souls. More stuff that we're going to be talking about on Friday. I don't think I could have said Friday more often, but I just might say it a few more times. We're going to be talking about that kind of stuff on Friday, because remember that we're always listening to our souls. That is our function. And our soul, if we are really clairaudient, and we need to be more claircognizant, which means we know our information, our soul is going to start to shut down our clairaudient channels and make us start to use our clairvoyant channels or our cognizant channels, or whatever the weaker channels are. It's always important for us to remember that we are totally directed by our souls. We want to remember that so that we don't get into this, I don't know what the hell I'm doing and why things are happening this way. Our soul is always in charge. So they are telling me that I want to go back to that. What kinds of questions can you hear? What kinds of questions do you want to ask your soul? We're talking about being able to hear. What do you want to know? What do you want to ask? You want to say, when you ask a question, am I supposed to do A or supposed to do B? You want to have a clear idea that it's, oh, I heard A. I very clearly heard A. I know I heard A. But what if you thought you heard B and you're not sure? How do you handle that? What do? You start to ask an additional question. You ask some more information. As you clear your clairaudient channels, you will hear more clearly. It will make sense to you more. You will start to develop the code for what everything means. When I hear a Dave Oz song, I know that it is time to do healing on myself, time to do healing on someone else. That is my code. And as we start to ask more questions and listen more, we start to develop this relationship. They always show this to me, like when you're in a brand new relationship in the physical, there's this time where you're getting to know each other and what the language is and how the jokes go and how you talk to each other. It is the exact same relationship that you are developing with your soul. The more you ask questions, the more that you pay attention and listen, the more you're going to get the information. Once again, it's like,
Okay, I think we're losing you, Bonnie.
Trust is a giant for everybody. Trust. Go ahead. You can take it, Lily.
Well, thank you so much for all of that, Bonnie. And one of the things that I was giggling inside, because when you're saying that's not the truth of me, I remember I don't know, maybe I was in my 20s, and when I would meet young children, one of their favorite saying was, "You're not the boss of me," and that kind of became a popular saying among, preteens and, young, really children. They would be like, "You're not the boss of me." You tried to get them to do something, and "You're not the boss of me." Wouldn't it be so great if we got used to saying, "That's not the truth of me," every time that something showed up for us that we know is not who we are? And we just took command and said, "That's not the truth of me." And then we could really begin to unwind all the untruth that has been thrown upon us through culture and through religion and through society and through even science and medicine. There's just so much out there that is not the truth of who we are, because the only truth is love. And so what I'm having like this vision of everybody on this call, and I'm seeing all of you literally like light, and they're asking me to give to you an analogy. Well, it's not really an analogy. They want me to share something with you that happened recently to me. That I heard a song. So Bonnie's been using songs as a way to talk about clairaudience, and there's this song that I heard recently that I just absolutely fell in love with. It's called, the name of it is Dear God. And it starts with, Dear God, I don't always hear you. And so I'm really present to that song right now. And in the song, the singer goes on, the lyrics are all about our journey as a human being and how we come from source, and then we go through this whole journey to discover duality. And it doesn't use those exact lyrics, but this is how I'm hearing it through my clairaudience, because when you hear a song, there's the lyrics that are actually written and that you hear, but then there's the message that you're hearing through your clairaudient channels. And so what I'm describing to you is what I hear through the clairaudient channels. The song is about the journey of humanity through, and myself or ourselves as an individual, through the pain and the suffering and the duality and the separation and all that. And at the end of the song, the last words of it and they repeat it several times, and this is actually lyrics in the song. It says, we come from the light, we go back to the light, and we live to remember that we are the light. And that just touches me so much. And that's how I'm experiencing all of you. And the message that they're giving us right now is that for us to be able to step into our channels, we have to remember that we've always had them. Our creation has included channels from the beginning. There was never a time that we didn't have channels. When our soul was created, it had channels. It always has had channels. Mm-hmm. And so this idea that we come from the light, we go back to the light, and we live to remember that we are the light. That's what we're doing right now. That's what Bonnie and I do on this call, is we're doing this call so that we can all remember who we are, the truth of who we are. And so we are the light. We are the beings of light that have been gifted through our own creative origins, source creation. We have these channels, and all we need to do is remember that whatever shows up that is not the truth of us, we just need to say, oh my God, that's not the truth of me. That would be a great t-shirt, a great bumper sticker too, or a license plate thing, right? That's not the truth of me. So when you feel afraid, or when you're thinking that you're hearing voices and that's not a good thing, then you say, that's not the truth of me. Let me now remember that I am the light. Let me now remember that I have these beautiful channels that have been designed to allow me to gather information. That's what these channels do, like all the senses that we have. So they want us to remember that we are the light. We go back to the light, and we are here to remember that we are the light, and that the channels that we possess and the light bodies, because we've been talking about light bodies as well. We have these beautiful light bodies. Our astral body, for example, how many of us are not aware that we're traveling in these astral bodies at night and gathering so much information, and we're teaching and we're learning and we're visiting schools in the astral, and we are healing and we're visiting and we're communing with each other. So it's about remembering, and the first step in remembering, and so we're getting a download now to help us to remember, because these low frequencies is what keeps us from remembering that we are the light. Fear and pain and suffering, and there's so much that's here right now from a religious standpoint, what we call religious program or societal programming, and even family programming, cultural programming. So we're getting a download right now that is helping us. I haven't seen a download like this before. It's literally, it's coming, the download is coming through, and some of you might be experiencing it. It's coming in through the crown. And as it's coming through, it looks to me kind of like a silvery. It has like little rainbow specks and gold specks, but it's mostly silvery. and it's coming in through the crown, and it's as it's moving, it's actually doing like a roto-rooter kind of action, like it's clearing, but it's a download too. And usually I don't see it that way, because normally I see something gets cleared and then the download comes in. But this is kind of happening simultaneously, where there's a clearing going on of low frequencies for our clairaudient channels. They're being very specific for our clairaudient channels. And because they're saying that our clairaudient channels actually are very, very sharp for us right now. We can use our clairaudient channels actually for tremendous amount of healing. And most of us are hearing. It's just we don't relate to it like we're hearing, because we're thinking that it's thoughts. Like Bonnie was saying, she hears these references to music, but she's not thinking it's her clairaudience. And so they want us to know that all of us are really using our clairaudience channel, and we need to trust that what we're hearing is our clear channels. And so we're getting a roto-rooter cleanup of low frequencies like fear and anything that is keeping us. Guilt is another thing. Guilt and shame, like not being worthy, and the unworthiness too is coming down. So, and as that is happening, like this silvery, misty download is coming through for us. And now I'm seeing some rose quartz in it, which is really beautiful. And it's coming through to the heart. So our hearts are getting an opening right now to be able to receive the trust that is there for us to, I want to say believe in, but it's not believing, it's knowing. It's knowing that these channels are here for us, and they're here. We've always had them. We always will have them. And it's just here for us to trust and step into them and allow them to express themselves. And then when we experience doubt, when we experience fear, when we experience anything that in any way stops us, has us feel unworthy, has us feel pain, that's when we just have to declare, that is not the truth of me. And step into remembering that the truth of me is love. The truth of me is light. The truth of me is remembering that I've come from the light, and that's where I'm going back. I don't need to spend a whole lot of time remembering it, because I could just trust it right now. And as I step more and more into the trust that I am the light, that I am love, then these channels will begin to be more evident for us. They're speaking to us. All of our channels are nudging us, and they tap us on the shoulders, and they nudge us in the ear, and they tap us on the head, and they give us a little ping on the side of our back, and like Bonnie said, you could actually hear through your toe. And that's really hilarious to think that our clairaudience can talk to us from our toe, so that happens. So the next time that your attention is being called to your toe or to another part of your body, and if maybe you feel a little pain, or maybe you stubbed it. Sometimes we stub our toe because our toe wants to tell us something. Sometimes we have a pain in somewhere because it's the only way that these channels can get our attention. If we don't hear them when they're talking to us softly and gently, they just have to talk a little bit more loud, and they have to nudge us in a way, or they have to push us to run into somebody, or a wave has to come and splash us so that we can pay attention. And so let's become like astute observers of our environment. Let's become committed to being like alert and observing everything that is happening around us, because everything that is happening around us, especially when it's happening to our light bodies, it's something nudging us to give us a clue of something, to give us a message about something. And that's when we got to stop and say, okay, what's the message here? What do I need to know? And we ask our soul that, because as Bonnie was saying, our soul is in control of everything, and our soul knows exactly what we're supposed to be doing at every given moment. And we're going to talk more about that on Friday, because we're going to teach you how to listen to your soul, and how to take those messages, and how to interpret them, and how to receive them, and how to put them into action, and how to have results in your life that are soul-based and come from the perspective of your soul versus your personality. Your personality makes a lot of mistakes. Your soul makes no mistakes. So as this download is coming through, we're getting cleared of a lot of these low frequencies, and we are being gifted with this gift is about becoming more of who we are, becoming more of an astute observer of our environment and our surroundings, so that we can pay more attention with less, what's the word that I want to use?
Effort?
With less drama, okay? With less drama.
Mm-hmm.
So, wow, it just feels so beautiful. And now I'm seeing beautiful rainbow frequencies coming in for everybody. Rainbow frequencies are, I think, probably my favorite frequencies. And they are absolutely amazing. They're coming in through the back of the head and down into our spine. And it's bringing in a lot of joy, joy, joy. And also helping us to alchemize other frequencies like forgiveness and compassion for self. That also, it maintains us in a place of staticness or static. So that really feels beautiful. Wow. So congratulations, everybody. Everybody, you just got a major upgrade on your Clairaudient channels and some really beautiful healing. Wow. Thank you. Thank you. Thank you.
That was absolutely beautiful.
Wow.
I love that's not the truth of me. And I can see children everywhere going, that's not the truth of me. And I just love that. It was like so very clear. You know, and unwinding all the untruth is actually what you said. You know, sometimes you say things so profound that I'm like, quick, let me write that down. Let me write that down, because it was just so amazing. So thank you very much, Lily. I have the pleasure of thanking all of you who posted questions in the chat. You know, Eileen, who was willing to speak up, but also Corey and Jill and Cindy and Ashley and who else do I have? Oh, Echo and Gretchen and Terry, who all posted information. Rosanna, you are just such a beautiful soul as well. It is awesome to have you all be here and participate. Next week, we are having a little change of a schedule. It's not a dramatic thing. We are actually next week, instead of doing Cognizance, we're actually going to be doing Clairsentience, which is feeling. We're going to be talking about those Clairsentient channels and how we use those to get more information. It is going to be amazing, because if you're somebody who sits on a plane and you suddenly feel nauseous and you know it's not yours, we are going to be able to talk to you next week about Clairsentience. And then the last week, which is going to be March 12th, we are going to be doing Claircognizance, the most important channel. We all want more Claircognizance. And some of what I'm seeing is the switch is actually allowing us to do a lot more healing on people from now until then, to have more Claircognizance, because it's so important. We have talked for almost an hour, and we have mentioned about Friday. I do want to mention it just one more time. It is the Soul Basics class that we are going to be doing on Friday. It's from 7 p.m. to 8:45. We are doing it online. It is going to be the most amazing program ever. I've already watching Melchizedek, which is the enlightened archangel, starting to create gifts galore for everybody that's going to be on the call and everybody that's going to listen. It is $50. You're going to get a ton of information about your soul. You know, the fact that your soul is male or female, the fact that your soul is in charge of everything, all the different aspects of your soul that we have talked about tonight. We're going to be giving you a ton of that information, but we're also going to be loading you up with healing like you have never had before. It is going to be absolutely amazing. I'm just kind of astounded by all the details that I'm seeing of the healing that is going to be going on. So do like Eileen has done. Eileen, I'm going to tell on you. Eileen not only registered for herself, but she also grabbed 2 friends and said, you all need to be here. So it is going to be that amazing. Lily, do you have anything you want to add?
I love you all so much. It's so, I'm very moved right now, because so much is happening, moving for everybody. And these downloads are going to continue to come down for a few hours. It feels really, really intense. So I'm very moved. Love all of you so much. Wow. Everything is just moving incredibly. So thank you all for being here. Wish you the most incredible, incredible week, and hope to see you on Friday night. Everybody, come on, join us.
Awesome, awesome. And thank you for displaying that clairsentience as well. We look forward to seeing you guys on Friday and definitely on next Tuesday.
Take
Good
care.
night, everybody.